Okay, so now that we need to include some enemies, we're gonna go to the sprites here and pick something scary that we can shoot down. Maybe here we go. How about a ghost? There you go. So he's a little big, and we are going to clone him. So just like we did with the ball, we're going to grab a when green flag clicked. We're going to set his size maybe to 40%. Yeah, 40, maybe 45. That's good. All right, and then we are going to hide the original. So what we're going to do is we're going to have the enemy spawn from the right-hand side and then move across the screen to the left. So I'm going to go and grab a when I start as a clone. And we are going to show, because we have to do that anytime we use these cloning things. And we are going to go to motion and grab a go to XY. Now, the X coordinate, the way this system works is that the 0, 0 point is right in the middle of the screen. And the most right-hand side point is on X is at 240. So we don't want it to spawn on screen. We want it to spawn off screen so that it doesn't just look like it's showing up out of nowhere and then move to the left. So I'm going to add about 40 pixels, let's say, call it 280, so that it comfortably spawns off screen and then moves in. And for the Y coordinate, which is the vertical coordinate, we're going to use a random number. And the topmost number here is 180. The bottommost number here is negative 180. And I don't want that ghost touching either edge. I don't want it touching the top edge, and I don't want it touching the bottom edge. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to take 180 and subtract a few pixels. I'm going to call it maybe 150, negative 150. And we will see how that works. If it starts to drag the edge, we can lower it down maybe to 145 or 140. And as long as we just keep it off both the top and the bottom edge. And there's a reason for that. We'll get into that. So the ghosts are going to come in and they're going to basically repeat until and change X by just like the ball, except we're moving to the left. So we're going to go with negative 10 because positive 10 would be moving to the right. And once they kick out of that loop, and we'll get into why they would do that in a second, they are going to delete themselves. We can't have them like bunch up here. We can't have Scratch, have 600 clones to keep track of. So what is going to happen that the ghost needs to do? What's the trigger for it to stop moving? Well, if we only use touching the edge, what ends up happening is that the ghost will spawn off screen, hit this right-hand side edge, and then disappear, and then delete this clone. And that's not what we want. We want the edge. We want the ghost to pass this edge with no problem, and only delete itself when it hits this edge on the left. So in order to do that, we're going to keep track of the X position of the ghost. And we're going to say if the X position is ever less than 0 or the middle of the screen, and it's also touching the edge, that's when we can delete it, which is also why we want to make sure that it's not touching the top or bottom edges, because that would count for this. And it would get to 0 and then just delete itself halfway across the screen. We don't want that. The only edge we want it to delete on is the left-hand side edge, and this is an easy way to do it. Is it the only way? Certainly not. There's actually quite a few different ways, but this is the one we're using right now. All right, so let's. Oh, you know what? We're gonna have to clone it a couple of times. Let's just clone it once, and then we can see how it looks. Man, that sucker's fast. Oh, it's staying off the bottom edge. That's good. All right. These are nice. The enemies are fast. I think they're the right size. And they're coming in randomly on the y-axis. What we want. Yeah, perfect. All right. So how many of these do we want per second or whatever? We're gonna have to kind of figure that out. We're gonna put in a weight afterwards, and that weight should be maybe staggered a little bit, maybe random. Let's wait between 1 and 4 seconds. See how that works out for us. We're going to clone it basically every between 1 and 4 seconds. Yeah. Pretty good. All right. I like it. All right. So now what we have to do is once we have our ghosts, we have to come up with some collision for the ball. So we're going to get into that in the next video.